It's hard to believe that less than 3 months ago, almost none of us even knew there was such a place as Kemerovo, Siberia. Now it's come to hold a big place in the hearts of many people across Montana and northern Wyoming. Thousands of people donated medical supplies, clothes, food, money, and time, all in an effort to help people half a world away, people we'd never met. Those of us who traveled to Siberia learned a lot. We learned how to cope in a very different culture. We even learned to speak and read a little Russian. And most of all, we learned the people of Siberia and the people of Montana and Wyoming are more alike than they are different. This is their story.
Caring for Kemerovo. Brought to you by Cook Travel, Corporate Air, and Cenex Convenience Stores.
But it's what you know to you know, I guess. And I've just met some fantastic people. I've been very fortunate in that regard to being exposed to people that had capabilities. I don't have capabilities, but I got a tremendous dreaming power, whatever.
It all started with Tom Acey's dream. The former state legislator from Forsyth came back from Kemerovo late last fall with a dream that American people, not the government, could help the Russian people build their future. He would find that the people who live in this part of America were ready to buy into his dream. People from across the region began bringing food and clothing to the Billings food bank, and people came to the food bank every day to help sort and box what others donated.
Yeah, over the weekend, I'm not sure about the food, but I know the clothes. It just was a phenomenal outpouring of clothing, and this is just terrific. Every day when I come down and there are people here working, it's just wonderful. I'm just thrilled with the outpouring of help from the community.
And while the bounty from people's closets and pantries stacked up at the food bank, medical equipment and drugs poured in from around the country. Jerry Dernbach is another of the organizers. He heads the Billings medical supply firm CardioMed Associates. He put out the word to his clients that something good was in the works, and he wanted them to help. They did, to the tune of around $750,000.
I think a replacement dollar value would probably be in the $500,000 to $750,000 value. I think if we get talking about usability factors, when you take this type of product and equipment and put it into a facility where there's nothing, I'm not sure that we can really measure it.
Private citizens and private businesses donated time and supplies, but the mission couldn't go forward without cooperation from the government.
The whole project requires enormous numbers of permissions from enormous numbers of authorities, civil and government.
The Defense Department had to check the plane for security reasons and put an Air Force navigator on board to bring it into this country. The Federal Aviation Administration needed a flight plan for the plane's flight through U.S. airspace. Then the Department of Transportation had to sign off on the safe mechanical condition of the plane. It was up to the State Department to issue visas for the Russian crew and passengers, while Immigration and Naturalization and Customs had to clear the people and cargo to land in the U.S.
It's a job that really requires not so much advocacy or trying to cut through red tape as it does trying to be diplomatic.
Attorney and organizer Jim Preston managed to satisfy all the arms of government, and after delays of a week, then part of a week, and most of the rest of the week, on Saturday, February 22nd, just before noon, the Aeroflot IL-76 came in over the eastern horizon.
Aeroflot 3871 Heavy, Billings Tower, runway 27 right, clear to land, wind 210 at 5, traffic on a downwind. I'll be following you, and he has you in sight. With a 25 Romeo, that is a heavy aircraft, and I'll have to call your base reference him on final. Aeroflot 3871 Heavy, wind 210 at 5.
The huge plane taxied to a stop in front of the corporate air hangar. A few minutes later, 5 Russian passengers climbed out, not sure what to make of America or the Americans who came to see them.
Многообещающий прием, наверное.
Нейтрализовал все трудности, проблемы нашего полета.
Thanks to this exciting meeting, probably we forget about all difficulties that we have during this flight.
When the gauge reads empty, it's time to take your engine to the cleaners, your nearest Cenex convenience store that is, and fill your tank with the proven engine protection of Stay Clean gasoline. Its advanced detergent chemistry can reduce harmful deposits by 99%. That means better performance. And not only does your engine stay cleaner, but the environment does too. So the next time you need gasoline, keep your engine clean with Stay Clean, Stay Powerful gasoline from Cenex.
Nikki, have you seen my airline tickets?
No, I haven't. Where are you going?
To Denver.
Who with?
Bob, Roxy, and Mary. We have a meeting tomorrow.
Then why are you leaving today?
We have to make connections in Salt Lake first.
Will you be home tomorrow night?
No, we have to stay tomorrow night in order to fly out the next day.
You mean you'll be gone for 3 days for a half-a-day meeting? Why don't you just charter a plane?
Are you kidding? You know how much that would cost?
No, do you?
Fly smarter, think charter, and corporate air. Call today.
What do you like when you like to get away? What sounds like fun when it's time to play? What do you like? Do you like your mountains high? Do you like your oceans blue? Do you like romantic nights? What do you like when you leave it all behind? You like to make the most of your time.
For information on non-stop flights from New York to Moscow, call Cook Travel.
The Russians got a good night's sleep before visiting an American institution, the shopping mall. John Rizek, Ed Lawler, Cheryl Shandy, and Tom and Joyce Acey treated the visitors to a feast for the eyes.
Yes, we'd like to have something like this in Moscow.
The Russians found all the stores and all the choices just overwhelming. They also found the mall to be something of an inspiration.
Of course, we have no so variety of goods in Moscow like you have. But we suppose that we hope it will improve situation in future.
Sunday at the mall gave way to Monday at the airport. The Aeroflot crew and staff at Corporate Air, along with a lot of volunteers, went to work moving all the medical supplies, food, and clothing from the hangar to the cargo hold of the IL-76. The chore presented more than a few challenges. For one, everything in the hangar couldn't go on the airplane. The cargo plane's carrying capacity is a little over 30 tons. The donated goods weighed around 70 tons. Obviously, a lot of it would have to stay in Billings. The medical materials had priority for several reasons. The hospitals in Kemerovo need them desperately. They had the highest dollar value, which meant they could justify the $190,000 to $250,000 the flight was costing the Siberian city. Another challenge was the odd sizes and shapes of the high-priority, high-tech equipment. The work needed a lot of hands. Jim Preston proved his talents extend beyond the legal arena. Slowly but steadily, the hangar emptied and the plane filled. Of course, you can't just send hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of medical supplies, food, and clothing to Russia. It all has to be itemized. And everyone has to agree on who pays the cost of getting it from Billings to Siberia and who's liable in case something doesn't work. So while the loading continued at the airport, Preston, Dr. Mikhail Sapozhnikov, and Kemerovo city official Anatoly Lebedikov spent about a half hour signing documents in Preston's office. But what started out as a dry legal requirement of the mission ended up looking and sounding like an emotional family reunion. Dr. Alina Akhazova wept as she realized the supplies she needs to treat her patients really would be coming to her city. Dr. Sapozhnikov told Cheryl Shandy, "You're my second mother." Shandy, the food bank director who provided space for the donated food and clothes, escorted the Russians everywhere and watched over them during their stay in the Magic City. Tuesday, February 25th, marked the beginning of the end of the loading project. Billings Mayor Dick Larson, who had given the Russians the key to the city Monday night, couldn't stop smiling as he watched the huge plane swallow pallet after pallet of supplies.
Oh, this is an extension of pure love for fellow man, I think, Gus. When you take a look at what people have done from their own hearts to groups of people that they don't know and are coming into the whole new world relationships, I think this opens up opportunities for Billings and Kemerovo that are unlimited. Sister city operations and the whole gamut of opportunities of extending literally friendship, one people to another, not nation or country, but one people to another people.
The last pallet went into the plane during a live report from the airport on Tuesday evening's newscast. As the load was winched up into the airplane, Preston had kind words for the people who got it all in.
Well, first of all, we've had some volunteers, people who came out on their day off. One gentleman named Scott from Tractor and Equipment Company, and a whole group of people who volunteered their time and effort and their sweat and labor to make sure everything was packed on the pallets. And the second thing is the skill of the Russian operators and technicians who have engineered packing all of the material so that we could fit it on the aircraft. The aircraft is actually taking more of a volume of equipment and supplies than it is designed to handle, although we are well within the weight safety limits.
Before sunup Wednesday, luggage and television equipment went into the baggage hold. 7 Americans joined the crew and 5 Russian passengers in the cramped quarters. At a little past 7 a.m. on February 26th, Aeroflot 3871 started rolling down the runway at Billings Logan International.
Spirit 18, caution wave turbulence, Ilyushin 76, departing runway 27 right, wind 220 at 15.
Traveling conditions in the cargo plane weren't first class, but they weren't that bad. We could go anywhere. Anywhere that wasn't filled with cargo. There was room to stretch out and sleep. The crew explained the technical parts of the plane through the news station's Russian-speaking photographer Kinga Lenin. And Darrel Palmer had time to teach some of the crew how to play poker. There were many ways of killing time. What never changed, though, was the noise. More than 24 hours after the big plane left Billings, it was on the ground in Kemerovo. The plane arrived in Kemerovo between 9:30 and 10 o'clock local time. Dozens of soldiers were waiting here, not to greet the plane, but to unload the goods that were sent from people in Montana and northern Wyoming to Siberia. The soldiers got started on their work somewhere around 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and by midnight, a half dozen or more trucks, like the one that just pulled out, were taking supplies, medical supplies, equipment, pharmaceuticals, from the airport to the hospital. At the hospital grounds, the soldiers hauled the food, clothes, and medical supplies off the trucks and into an old bomb shelter where it would stay for nearly a week.
Nikki, have you seen my airline tickets?
No, I haven't. Where are you going?
To Denver.
Who with?
Bob, Roxy, and Mary. We have a meeting tomorrow.
Then why are you leaving today?
We have to make connections in Salt Lake first.
Will you be home tomorrow night?
No, we have to stay tomorrow night in order to fly out the next day.
You mean you'll be gone for 3 days for a half-a-day meeting? Why don't you just charter a plane?
Are you kidding? You know how much that would cost?
No, do you?
Fly smarter, think charter and corporate air. Call today.
What do you like when you like to get away? What sounds like fun when it's time to play? What do you like? Do you like your mountains high? Do you like your oceans blue? Do you like romantic nights? What do you like when you leave it all behind? You like to make the most of your time.
For information on non-stop flights from New York to Moscow, call Cook Travel.
When the gauge reads empty, it's time to take your engine to the cleaners, your nearest Cenex convenience store that is, and fill your tank with the proven engine protection of Stay Clean gasoline. Its advanced detergent chemistry can reduce harmful deposits by 99%. That means better performance. And not only does your engine stay cleaner, but the environment does too. So the next time you need gasoline, keep your engine clean with Stay Clean, Stay Powerful gasoline from Cenex.
Distribution of the food and clothing was 4 days off, but we didn't have any time on our hands. The city government set out an ambitious schedule for us to learn about Kemerovo. From the mayor, Vladimir Mikhailov, we began to learn how much people in Kemerovo want to do business with Americans and why. Our young businessmen are only beginners compared with Americans, but they will build our future. They need to learn how to be as successful as businessmen in America, but our country doesn't have time for them to learn from their mistakes. The Kuzbas Commercial Bank is the first bank in Siberia to get involved in international banking, working with banks in a half-dozen European countries and the U.S. Right now, a bank in the Seattle area handles all of the Kemerovo Bank's American transactions. The customers, meanwhile, wait and wait to do their banking. It's the way they conduct all their business, waiting in long lines. And nowhere is this more true than at the gas pumps. This is one of the stations where state-owned vehicles can fuel up. There are 8 of these stations in Kemerovo. That's right, 8, for a city of 600,000 people. People who own their own cars fill up at one of 2 stations for private vehicles. But there aren't many of those. Only about 24,000 private cars and trucks in the entire city. The lines that affect the most people are the lines for food coupons and the lines in the food shops. Long lines, mostly empty shelves, and ever higher prices.
1 kilogram of butter costs 220 rubles.
Now.
In the shop now.
And 2 years ago, how much?
And 2 years ago, we paid for it only 3 rubles and 70 kopecks.
One necessity of life that's free is medical care, but it too suffers from shortages. The director of Kemerovo's mining district hospital explains, some of our patients are in very bad shape because we don't have the equipment or medications we need to treat them. The situation is less depressing at Kemerovo's cardiological surgical center, but the city's showpiece hospital shows many signs of shortages. One of the most critical is a money shortage. Several brand new operating rooms sit empty, the equipment never used. So far, there hasn't been enough money to finish construction or to buy the supporting equipment needed to put these high-tech tools to work. The future looks promising for this hospital, though. Director Leonid Babrash has developed an artificial heart valve not available anywhere else. His hospital could treat patients from around the world. It needs space for them and their families, and that will take a lot more money than the hospital has now. The whole city needs a lot more of everything than it has now. Perhaps 1 person in 5 relies on the social services department to help the families survive. There is no shortage of people who are desperately poor.
What do you like when you like to get away? What sounds like fun when it's time to play? What do you like? Do you like your mountains high? Do you like your oceans blue? Do you like romantic nights? What do you like when you leave it all behind? You like to make the most of your time.
For information on non-stop flights from New York to Moscow, call Cook Travel.
Nikki, have you seen my airline tickets?
No, I haven't. Where are you going?
To Denver.
Who with?
Bob, Roxy, and Mary. We have a meeting tomorrow.
Then why are you leaving today?
We have to make connections in Salt Lake first.
Will you be home tomorrow night?
No, we have to stay tomorrow night in order to fly out the next day.
You mean you'll be gone for 3 days for a half-a-day meeting? Why don't you just charter a plane?
Are you kidding? You know how much that would cost?
No, do you?
Fly smarter, think charter, and corporate air. Call today.
When When the gauge reads empty, it's time to take your engine to the cleaners, your nearest Cenex convenience store, that is, and fill your tank with the proven engine protection of Stay Clean gasoline. Its advanced detergent chemistry can reduce harmful deposits by 99%. That means better performance. And not only does your engine stay cleaner, but the environment does too. So the next time you need gasoline, keep your engine clean with Stay Clean, Stay Powerful gasoline from Cenex.
The work of getting food and clothes to some of Kemerovo's needy started very early on Tuesday morning. Ludmila Kozlovskaya directs the city's social services department. She also oversees the needs of hundreds of families. It's her idea that the distribution be a surprise to the people who are getting help. The woman is at first confused. For one thing, she can't understand why Ludmila is bringing her this food. She's a little overwhelmed when she learns it's come from people in America. A letter in Russian is packed with the food. She smiles as she reads the encouraging words from strangers in a place called Montana. I would like to thank you for your help. I hope we can be friends forever. At the bomb shelter, the two doctors who came to Billings are sorting through the donated clothes. Since the morning after the plane arrived in Siberia, Mikhail Sapochnikov and Alina Akhazova have been working in the bomb shelter, getting all these boxes ready to go out. They've had a lot of time to think about what's happening. It's difficult for me to talk right now. I feel so much. I'm so happy. I hope the families feel this way when they get these things. One family very definitely shares Alina's feelings. Vasily Stalvoitov works in a factory. His wife stays home and takes care of their 9 children. The youngest kids don't know what to make of all these big people who come in carrying boxes and talking strangely. But the other children like all the excitement. The family lives in a 5-room apartment. Their income is about 3,000 to 4,000 rubles a month, between $30 and $40. Someone asks Vasily how they make ends meet. We don't know, but thanks to God, somehow we manage. The phrase poor but happy might be a cliche, but it accurately describes this family. There is very little happiness in another home. A 42-year-old man named Anatoly lives here with his elderly parents. He worked as a TV journalist until 2 years ago when he was stricken with multiple sclerosis. He says the disease paralyzed him almost overnight. His wife couldn't cope with his condition, and she left. That's when he moved in with his parents. He tells us they're pretty sick. The packages for this family include some medicines. Anatoly says he can't use them, but his parents might be able to. His mother says, "We don't live too good. We're very ill." Anatoly's father had heart surgery a few years ago. Now he needs a second operation, but is afraid he wouldn't live through it. Ludmila tells the old woman, "You know me. You remember that I come here every month. I'd like to help you as much as I can." Ludmila has been a member of the Communist Party all her adult life. Seeing her with these people, I think of Mikhail Gorbachev's desire for what he called socialism with a human face. She knows these people well. She takes food to the home of a retired miner named Alexander. He and his wife lived near Chernobyl until the nuclear power plant disaster in 1986. Then the government moved them to Kemerovo. His wife is now gravely ill. She's confined to a hospital where she receives chemotherapy treatments. The old man tells us his granddaughter, a medical student, lives with him. He speaks with pride about his service in the army during the Second World War, about his life and his family. He isn't familiar with some of the food brought into his home. Jim Preston explains how the different items are used. It's all very much different from the man's usual fare. At the bomb shelter, the work of loading boxes continues. Over the next day and a half, social workers will take these tokens of concern and love from Americans to some 5,000 families throughout the city of Kemerovo.
Nikki, have you seen my airline tickets?
No, I haven't. Where are you going?
To Denver.
Who with?
Bob, Roxy, and Mary. We have a meeting tomorrow.
Then why are you leaving today?
We have to make connections in Salt Lake first.
Will you be home tomorrow night?
No, we have to stay tomorrow night in order to fly out the next day.
You mean you'll be gone for 3 days for a half-a-day meeting? Why don't you just charter a plane?
Are you kidding? You know how much that would cost?
No, do you?
Fly smarter, think charter and corporate air. Call today.
When the gauge reads empty, it's time to take your engine to the cleaners, your nearest Cenex convenience store that is, and fill your tank with the proven engine protection of Stay Clean gasoline. Its advanced detergent chemistry can reduce harmful deposits by 99%. That means better performance. And not only does your engine stay cleaner, but the environment does too. So the next time you need gasoline, keep your engine clean with Stay Clean, Stay Powerful gasoline from Cenex.
What do you like when you like to get away? What sounds like fun when it's time to play? What do you like? Do you like your mountains high? Do you like your oceans blue? Do you like romantic nights? What do you like when you leave it all behind? You like to make the most of your time.
For information on non-stop flights from New York to Moscow, call Cook Travel.
The night after the relief distribution ended, Tom Acey talked about seeing his dream become reality.
It's just fantastic. But one of the strange things, the thought that keeps bouncing through my mind is that work well done doesn't mean that the job is done. I don't know where it ends. I'm not sure that it does.
He was right. Not a day passed that someone in the government, schools, medical community, or business didn't make a strong pitch for joint ventures with Montana. Before our group left Kemerovo, the mayor presented Acey and Jim Preston with the key to the city, and he invited Billings to become Kemerovo's sister city. A few days later, Preston talked about the future.
Well, I think there's a great deal of potential. I think it's very significant that the mayor of Kemerovo offered to make Billings a sister city. We have a lot of things in common, and I think there's a lot of business potential in Kemerovo and the Kuspas region because of their ability to obtain hard currency for coal. That gives them the ability to buy from American businesses and import things, which is to our benefit, and it also gives us an ability to invest higher technology and things from our country, which is a benefit to both of us mutually.
Long before the cargo plane left Russia for Billings, Olga Maeva told the government and business leaders the people of Montana and Wyoming really wanted to help the people of Siberia. Many of them were very skeptical. Olga had the last word.
But you did it. And that's why our people there now do not suspect. They are ready to work with you. They want to work with you. They want to make friends in America. And they understand that you have very good feelings to our people, that you love us, and now we want to love you.
Caring for Kemerovo. Brought to you by Cook Travel, Corporate Air, and Cenex Convenience Stores.